Hello, and welcome to Stairway to English. Today, we begin a powerful journey about the word no. This simple word can change your life. It can protect your time, your dreams, and your freedom. As you practice your listening and reading, you will also discover how to build willpower and true freedom. Let's begin. Episode 1: Understanding the Value of No. In our daily lives, we meet many people and face many situations where choices must be made. Sometimes people ask us for help, invite us to activities, or expect us to agree with their plans. Saying yes can feel easy. It feels safe because people like us when we agree. But always saying yes can also be dangerous. If we say yes too often, we may forget what we truly want. We may ignore our own needs and allow others to control our time, energy, and even our emotions. That is why learning to say no is not only a skill, but also a path to freedom. The word no is short and simple, yet it carries great strength. Saying no is often misunderstood. Many people think it means being rude, selfish, or unkind. But in reality, saying no can be an act of honesty, courage, and respect for ourselves. Imagine a friend asks you to go out late at night, but you are very tired and need to rest. If you say yes just to please them, you may harm your health. However, if you say no kindly, you protect your body, your mind, and your well-being. That no becomes an act of love for yourself. The freedom of will means that we are able to choose. We are not machines that must follow commands. We have the power to decide how we use our time, who we spend it with, and what goals we follow. Every time we say no to something that does not fit our values, we say yes to something better. We say yes to our health, our dreams, our peace of mind. That is why no is not negative, it is positive, because it makes space for what truly matters. In many cultures, children are taught to obey without question. They learn to avoid conflict and to please parents, teachers, and friends. As they grow, this habit of saying yes continues. But life becomes heavier when we carry too many responsibilities. We may accept extra work, agree to unwanted plans, or allow others to decide our future. Slowly, our own voice becomes silent. The freedom of will begins to disappear, not because someone takes it by force, but because we give it away by never using the power of no. Saying no does not mean closing doors. In fact, it opens doors to new opportunities. Imagine you are asked to join a project at work that does not match your skills or interests. By saying no, you may feel afraid that people will be disappointed. But by refusing, you keep your energy free for something that truly fits your talents. Later, when a better project comes, you can say yes with confidence. That is the balance of life. No creates the space for the right yes. It is also important to understand that saying no is not only about protecting ourselves, it is also about being fair to others. When we say yes, but cannot give our full effort or attention, we may disappoint the person later. A kind no at the beginning is more honest than a weak yes followed by failure. For example, if a friend asks you for help moving heavy furniture, but you know your back is hurting, saying yes may cause harm to both of you, but saying no early shows care and responsibility. Of course, saying no is not always easy. We fear rejection. We fear losing friendships or opportunities. But true relationships are built on respect, not on blind agreement. If someone values us only when we always say yes, then perhaps that connection is not real friendship. Real friends, true colleagues, and healthy families respect the boundaries of others. They understand that no is not rejection of them as a person, but simply a decision about time, energy, or values. To build the courage to say no, we must practice. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. The words may feel heavy in our mouth. But with each small step, it becomes easier. Start with little things. Refuse a food you do not like. Decline an invitation you are not excited about. Or tell someone kindly that you are too busy. Each time you do this, you strengthen your will. You train your heart to choose freely instead of following pressure. Saying no is not about always refusing. It is about balance. It is about creating harmony between our own needs and the requests of others. Life is richer when we can say yes with joy because we know we are free to say no when needed. This is the foundation of real freedom. Without the ability to refuse, our yes loses meaning. Only when we can say both words with honesty does our will become truly free. In this way, learning to say no becomes a lesson in respect, courage, and self-love. It is not a wall that separates us from people. It is a bridge that connects us to our true selves. When we honor our choices, we also teach others to honor theirs. And in that exchange, freedom of will grows stronger, not only inside us, but in the entire community. Episode 2: The Psychology Behind Saying No. When we think about the word no, it may seem small and simple. Yet inside the human mind, this word has deep meaning. Many people struggle to say no because they fear conflict, rejection, or the feeling of guilt. Psychology helps us understand why this is so difficult and why learning to use no is essential for mental health and personal freedom. From a young age, people are taught that saying yes brings rewards. Children who obey are praised by parents and teachers. They learn that agreement is linked to acceptance and love. On the other hand, when children say no, they may face punishment or anger. This experience stays in the mind, even when they grow older. As adults, the same emotions return when they try to refuse something. They worry that saying no will make others upset, disappointed, or distant. This fear is connected to a natural human need, the desire to belong. People want to feel part of a group, respected and loved. Saying no feels risky because it can create distance. In psychology, this is called social pressure. Social pressure pushes us to act in ways that keep harmony, even if it means ignoring our own feelings. When the pressure becomes too strong, a person may always say yes, losing the ability to listen to their own needs. However, always agreeing creates another problem. The more we say yes against our true feelings, the more stress we carry inside. Our body may show signs: headaches, fatigue, or even anxiety, our mind becomes heavy because we are living against our own values. Psychology calls this conflict cognitive dissonance, which means the mind suffers when actions do not match beliefs. Saying no helps reduce this conflict. It allows thoughts and actions to align, bringing peace. Another reason no is powerful because it creates boundaries. Boundaries are invisible lines that protect our energy, time, and emotions. Without boundaries, people may take advantage of us. They may expect us to give endlessly, even when we are tired. But when we set clear limits by saying no, we protect our inner world. We tell ourselves and others that our needs are also important. This balance is essential for healthy relationships. Some people believe that saying no means closing doors forever. But psychology shows the opposite. Refusing something can actually increase respect. When a person sets boundaries, others see them as strong and reliable. They know that when this person says yes, it comes from honesty, not pressure. In this way, the word no strengthens trust instead of destroying it. It is also important to recognize the role of guilt. Guilt appears when we say no and feel like we are hurting someone. But guilt is often a trick of the mind. In truth, we are not harming anyone by protecting our time and energy. We are simply choosing wisely. Overcoming guilt requires practice and self-compassion. We must remind ourselves that it is impossible to please everyone. If we try, we will lose ourselves. A strong mind accepts that refusal is part of life. Not every request must be fulfilled. Not every invitation must be accepted. When we remember this, the fear of rejection begins to fade. We realize that true respect comes not from blind agreement, but from honesty. People may be surprised when we first start saying no, but over time, they will understand and even admire our courage. One way to practice saying no is through simple phrases. Instead of giving long excuses, we can be polite and direct. For example, I appreciate your offer, but I cannot. Or, thank you, but I have other priorities. These short sentences reduce stress. They show respect without opening long debates. The key is to keep the tone calm and firm. A clear no does not need anger, it only needs confidence. Finally, psychology teaches us that willpower is like a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it becomes. Every time we say no with honesty, we exercise our willpower. At first, the muscle feels weak, but with practice, it grows stronger. Soon, we find ourselves making decisions more easily. We are no longer trapped by fear of rejection or guilt. Instead, we live with freedom, balance, and respect. In the end, the psychology behind no reveals something important. This word is not an enemy, but a tool. It is a tool that helps us protect our health, reduce stress, and build stronger relationships. It gives us the power to live according to our values instead of the pressure of others. By learning to use this tool, we discover a life that feels lighter, calmer, and more honest. And that is the beginning of true freedom of will. Episode 3: The Connection Between No and Personal Freedom. When we speak about freedom, most people think about big things, the freedom to choose a career, to travel, or to express ideas. But true personal freedom often starts with something small, the ability to say no. This simple word protects our choices, shapes our lives, and shows us who we really are. Without the courage to refuse, freedom becomes an empty idea. With no, it becomes real. Every human life is full of decisions. Some are big, some are small, but together they create the path we walk. If we always say yes to others, then the path is not ours. It is shaped by the desires, needs, and plans of people around us. Our own dreams are left behind. Saying no returns control to us. It is like taking the steering wheel of a car. Without it, we may still move, but someone else decides the direction. With it, we decide the road and the destination. Personal freedom also means protecting time. Time is the most valuable resource because it cannot be replaced. When we say yes to everything, our time is filled with the demands of others. Soon, we feel there is no space left for ourselves. We may miss opportunities for rest, learning, or following passions. By saying no, we make room for the things that truly matter. We create space to breathe, to think, and to grow. Freedom is not only about time, but also about energy. Every task, every favor, every commitment requires energy. If we give energy to everything, we end up with nothing left for ourselves. This leads to exhaustion, frustration, and even resentment. When we say no, we protect our energy. We choose carefully where to invest it. In this way, we become stronger and more focused. Our energy is no longer scattered. It is directed toward what truly builds our future. There is also freedom in living honestly. Many people say yes while their heart whispers no. They smile on the outside, but feel heavy on the inside. This creates a life of pretense where actions do not match feelings. True freedom means alignment, living in a way where words, thoughts, and emotions are in harmony. A clear no creates this harmony. It removes the mask and shows our real self. This honesty may surprise others, but it brings deep peace to the one who practices it. Some people believe freedom comes from always having choices, but real freedom is not in the number of choices. It is in the courage to choose. Without the ability to refuse, choices lose their meaning. For example, imagine someone invites you to an event you do not enjoy. If you cannot say no, then your choice is not real. You go not because you want to, but because you fear the reaction. Real freedom comes when you decide based on your true desire, even if that means refusing. The connection between no and freedom can also be seen in relationships. Healthy relationships are built on respect, not control. If one person always says yes, the relationship becomes unbalanced. One gives too much and the other takes too much. This leads to frustration and even silent anger. But when both people respect each other's no, the relationship becomes equal and fair. Each person is free to decide, and each decision is respected. In such relationships, love and friendship grow stronger because they are based on honesty, not obligation. Personal freedom also requires courage against social expectations. Society often pushes us to agree, to be polite, to avoid conflict. But if we always follow these rules, we lose our individuality. Freedom means daring to stand apart when necessary. It means saying no to traditions, habits, or pressures that do not fit our values. History is full of examples where progress began with people who said no. They refused injustice, inequality, or false beliefs. Their courage to refuse gave freedom not only to themselves, but to many others. Saying no also strengthens our identity. Each refusal is a statement of who we are and what we believe in. For example, when someone refuses unhealthy habits, they declare that health is a priority. When someone refuses unfair treatment, they declare that dignity is important. Over time, these choices build a clear sense of self. Without no, identity becomes weak and uncertain. With it, identity becomes strong and stable. In the end, freedom is not just a big dream. It is lived in small daily decisions. Every time we say no to something that does not serve us, we say yes to something greater: our health, our peace, our growth, and our truth. The word no is not just a refusal. It is a door that opens to a life that truly belongs to us. A life where we walk with confidence, where we respect ourselves, and where we feel the joy of being free. Episode 4: Overcoming Fear and Guilt When Saying No. For many people, the word no is difficult to use, not because they do not understand its power, but because they feel fear or guilt. This emotional struggle is one of the main reasons why so many live without boundaries, even when they know that boundaries are necessary. To overcome this struggle, we must look deeply into why fear and guilt exist and how we can rise above them. Fear often begins with the thought of rejection. People worry that if they say no, others will be disappointed, angry, or even stop loving them. This fear is powerful because humans are social beings. We all want to belong, to be accepted, to be liked. However, if our desire for acceptance is stronger than our respect for ourselves, we lose balance. We end up living for others, not for ourselves. Overcoming this fear means realizing that healthy relationships survive even when we say no. If someone leaves us simply because we set a boundary, then their connection to us was never based on respect. Another form of fear comes from conflict. Many avoid saying no because they imagine an argument will follow. They picture raised voices, angry faces, or broken trust. But in reality, most conflicts are less dramatic than we imagine. A calm, clear, and respectful no often prevents bigger conflicts later. Saying yes when we really want to say no might bring temporary peace, but it plants seeds of frustration. Over time, those seeds grow into resentment, which eventually damages relationships much more than a simple refusal would. Then comes guilt. Guilt whispers that we are selfish when we say no. It tells us we should always help, always be kind, always be available. But guilt often confuses kindness with self-sacrifice. True kindness is not about destroying ourselves to help others. It is about giving with a full heart, not with hidden pain. If we help when we do not want to, our actions lose purity. We give, but with bitterness inside. Overcoming guilt means understanding that self-care is not selfishness. Protecting ourselves allows us to give more meaningfully when we truly choose to. Cultural and family expectations also feed guilt. Many people grow up hearing that good children always obey or good friends never refuse. These early lessons stay in the mind even when we become adults. But as adults, we must question these lessons. Is it really true that love means never saying no? Or is love stronger when it is honest? Is friendship really about endless agreement? Or is it about respecting each other's limits? When we challenge these old beliefs, guilt begins to lose its power. Overcoming fear and guilt also requires practice. At first, saying no feels heavy, like lifting a weight for the first time. But just like a muscle, the skill grows stronger with repetition. The first refusal might make us tremble, but the second feels easier, and the third easier still. Over time, no becomes natural. We realize that the world does not collapse when we say it. People still respect us, relationships still survive, and life continues, only with more peace for us. Another helpful step is learning to communicate no with kindness. Sometimes the fear and guilt come from the idea that no is always harsh. But no can be soft, warm, and respectful. We can say, I appreciate your offer, but I cannot. Or, I would love to, but I need to focus on something else. By adding kindness, we protect both ourselves and the other person. We show that refusal does not mean rejection of the person, only rejection of the request. Finally, overcoming fear and guilt requires remembering our worth. We are not machines made only to serve others. We are human beings with dreams, limits, and needs. Each time we say no, we affirm our worth. We remind ourselves and others that we deserve rest, respect, and freedom. Fear and guilt lose power when we see no not as a weapon, but as an act of self-love and balance. In the end, fear and guilt are natural emotions, but they do not have to control us. They are signals, not commands. They appear when we protect our boundaries, but with courage and practice, they fade. Every time we overcome them, we step closer to true freedom. Saying no then becomes not an act of fear, but an act of confidence. It is no longer a heavy burden, but a light truth. A truth that gives us peace, respect, and a stronger connection to ourselves. Episode 5: Freedom, Balance, and the Power of No. When we look at life carefully, we can see that one small word can change everything. That word is no. It may sound simple, but it holds incredible power. It is not only about refusing requests, it is about shaping a life that is balanced, honest, and free. To reach freedom of will, we must understand that every no we say builds a wall that protects our time, our energy, and our true identity. Without these walls, life becomes chaotic. With them, life becomes a garden where growth, rest, and peace are possible. Saying no is a declaration of freedom. Many people live as prisoners of obligation, trapped by endless yeses. They work too much, agree too often, and forget themselves in the process. Their freedom is lost because they fear to disappoint. But every time we choose to say no, we break a chain. We prove that our choices are ours, not controlled by fear, culture, or expectation. That is the very essence of free will. Freedom does not always mean doing what we want, but it always means having the power to decide. And that power shines most clearly when we can say no. Balance is another gift of no. Imagine a scale. On one side are the needs of others. On the other side are our own. If we always say yes to others, the scale tips too far, and our needs fall into darkness. But when we dare to say no, the scale returns to balance. Balance does not mean selfishness. It means giving and receiving in harmony. We cannot pour water from an empty cup. By protecting our own strength, we can give more wisely, more joyfully, and more sustainably to those we care about. In relationships, no creates respect. People admire honesty, even when it is hard to hear. If we always say yes, others may take us for granted. They may stop seeing our kindness as a gift and start treating it as a duty. But when we use no with clarity and kindness, others learn to value our yes more. They see that when we agree, it comes from genuine choice, not silent pressure. Respect grows where honesty lives. No is also a protector of dreams. Every dream requires time and focus, but in a world full of demands, distractions, and invitations, dreams can disappear unless we guard them carefully. Each no to unnecessary tasks is a yes to our goals. Each no to wasted energy is a yes to growth. Great artists, leaders, and thinkers all understood this. They did not only choose what to do, they chose what not to do. Their success came not only from their yes, but also from their brave no. The power of no is not only external, it also shapes our inner world. When we learn to say it, our mind becomes calmer. Anxiety decreases because we are no longer pulled in 1,000 directions. Resentment disappears because we no longer betray ourselves. Confidence grows because we see that we are capable of protecting what matters. Every no strengthens the voice inside us that says, "My life belongs to me." That voice is the root of dignity, self-respect, and peace. Of course, the journey is not always easy. There will be moments when fear and guilt return. There will be times when others do not understand our boundaries. But growth is not about never struggling. It is about continuing to choose wisely even when the struggle appears. Each time we practice, our courage grows. Each time we stand firm, our freedom deepens. Over time, saying no stops feeling like rejection and begins to feel like wisdom. At the heart of it all, the word no is not against love. In fact, it protects love. It protects the love we have for ourselves so that we do not collapse under pressure. It protects the love we give to others so that it remains pure, joyful, and real. Without no, love becomes heavy and forced. With no, love becomes free, voluntary, and strong. In the end, the ability to say no is the foundation of willpower and freedom. It allows us to create a life that is true to our values, balanced in our energy, and respectful to ourselves and others. Each no is not only a refusal, it is also an invitation to peace, to clarity, to freedom. To say no is to choose wisely, to live consciously, and to honor the most important responsibility we have, the responsibility to live our own life with courage and truth.